But it's true. And that's what, honestly, I know you said you're not a big budgeter, but budgeting has freed me to spend with intentionality. And so I don't ever see it as restrictive of like, well, why do I need to track it? Like I'm going to spend less than I make. I'm going to have money left over. It's fine. I'm investing. And you guys, again, you're like the 1%.
Yes.
I find that when I budget for the vacation and I spend that money on the vacation or the car or the clothing, I feel good about it because I did it with intentionality instead of regret or remorse or impulse. And so I wonder if that might be the ticket for you. I know it's counterintuitive.
I agree. I think the intention is nice and everything, but I also think like if you look at it from a actual like on a sheet of paper, like the value of my time, if I'm going to go and like budget everything and like be very like proactive about it and intentional, like you mentioned, I just don't think that it would really change anything for me. Like if you assigned a reasonable budget for someone, I'm far beneath that. So for me, spending the extra time on something like that wouldn't really matter. And I would argue the same for Graham.
Yeah, what's your views on budgeting these days?
I don't anymore because my default is always just don't spend money. It's always the default. So when I do, it's like
your bank transaction list is very light, I imagine.
No, it wouldn't be necessarily light, but the goal is just always don't spend unless I have to. I would say the biggest splurge at this point is probably food. That would be it.
That's a luxury that's worth it to you.
Yeah. But it's usually at the end of the day, like I'll set goals for myself. I'll say I'll be able to get sushi, like DoorDash sushi, which is $70 for like Macy and I. So for
that
all
hurts
of us,
my heart.
$70, both of us, so $35 each delivered for sushi at home. If I get my whole video planned and filmed, and I'll make that goal.
You dangle it. Yes.
I dangle it, and then once I do that,
You're driven.
I'm like, okay, now I deserve that. So, but I don't. If I don't finish it, I don't deserve it.
That's
So,
interesting.
Like, I'll have
See,
little rewards.
I think which you're doing it right, and I'm the same way. Like I don't feel like I should get something until I've kind of earned it. So I've switched. I deserve it are 3 words that have caused a lot of people to become broke. Obviously not in this context, but this term, like, well, I deserve it. I work so hard. I'm just gonna DoorDash because I worked a long day at work. I'm gonna spend $70. But I've switched. I deserve it to I've earned it, and it feels different in that way because deserve comes up from a place of entitlement. But I think earning it is different. So when we were paying off our house, I said, I'm driving an '09 Civic. The bumper's hanging off this thing. Dave's making fun of me. I paid $6,000 for it from an old team member here. And I said, I'm not upgrading that car until we pay off the mortgage. And it was so freeing to do that because I felt like I had earned it. So we paid off the mortgage. I saved up. I paid cash for the Tesla. And so you made the video. Was it you had a Tesla for how much a month?
$78.
So I'm still planning on doing the video, how I got a Tesla for $0 a month. That's the goal.
That's funny.
So,
I like that.
and that's the kind of countercultural stuff where it's just like, it's weird in today's world to not have a car payment. It's weird to not use a credit card. And 30 years ago, it was totally weird to use debt for everything we do and do buy now, pay later on a freaking pizza. But now we just live in this culture where it becomes normal. It's marketed to us. And so we just start going, well, now you're the weird one for not doing that, you know?
Yep.
But I think there's such value in switching those words from I deserved it to I've earned it. And doing it with cash, because then there's no rear view mirror going, oh, I got to pay for that thing I did 4 months ago. It's so freeing to just be done with that transaction in that moment.
I actually completely agree. I've virtually removed the word deserve from my vocabulary at this point, and I've switched it to earn. Because I think not only, like, obviously there are certain things in life that are deserved, like people deserve certain, like, obviously things, but I think just the mentality alone, kind of similar to what you were preaching earlier, where like it's more so about shifting the underlying psychology than the actual like the net change. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny is
similarly with the word deserve and earn.
Dave's line anytime someone calls into the show is better than I deserve. But you guys know what that's about.
I don't.
Okay, so this is interesting. A lot of people don't understand the context behind it because it's not always explained. When he says better than I deserve, it is a statement of grace. Like he's actually referring to his faith, not like better than I deserve because I'm a multi-millionaire. He's saying like biblically speaking, like I deserved, better than I deserve. He's saying biblically speaking, he deserved hell. He deserved the worst because of his sin nature. And instead, he has the grace of Jesus, right? And so that's what he's referring to when he says that. And it's an interesting point when it comes to money because normally we don't weave that part into it. But like when we talk about doing a budget, we put giving first. We say 10% giving at the top of your budget. If you go to a local church, your local church is a great spot for that. But it changed the way I handle money personally because I realized like, oh, if I'm a steward of what I've been given, right? We'd all say like, oh, I'm so blessed, right? Like you've said that. Like, I'm just really blessed, man.
Mm-hmm.
To me, what that means is I didn't deserve this. I now have this pile of money that, God has given me to manage. I want to be a good manager of it. And that changes the way I make decisions. I'm like, should I spend frivolously over here or should I invest wisely? And there's the parable of the talents in the Bible where the guy went, hey, I'm going to give you some, I'm going to give you some. And he rewarded the one who turned it into more money versus the one who just, buried it in the dirt, in the tin can in the backyard. So there's so many interesting principles, biblically speaking, that have changed the way that I just view money personally, coming from my background. But it's really interesting even to study it from a financial perspective, to go like, if Graham is a steward of what he's been given, right? This amazing net worth, this real estate portfolio, this platform that you've been given, it just changes the way you view it. And I think it makes you less selfish because you start thinking about things that are deeper.
Yeah.
It's not all about views and clicks. It's about influence and impact and legacy and generational change. And so that when people do their debt-free scream on the show, they say, I've changed my family tree. Like, I had a generational curse from my parents and their parents, and there was abuse and there was trauma and there was addiction and there was debt. And I'm the first one in my family who's going to turn that all around. And that brings tears to my eyes every time we get to do those screams, because it reminds me of the real reason. Because we love talking about money. We're all a bunch of nerds talking about money. But when you have that level of depth behind it, of kind of this eternal mindset, it just changes the way I make decisions personally now. When I see, like, I'm a steward of this versus like, well, this is George's money and he deserves it, so he's going to do what he wants with it. No one tells George what to do. It just makes me more open-handed with money. And that's part of the financial piece that I think you feel when you walk into this place and see all of us.